Right now, I want to bring in the chairman of the Senate Republican Conference, Senator Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, who believes America needs a package, but it has to be the right one. Sir, thank you for being with us, Senator. You know, many of your colleagues, your GOP colleagues, are saying there's nothing in this that addresses the housing problem. What could a stimulus package look like to address the housing situation in this country?
We think it ought to include 4% mortgages for 40 million credit-worthy Americans, which would amount to basically a $400 tax cut per month for the next 30 years. We think in addition to that, it ought to have a $15,000 tax credit for home buyers. Housing got us into this. Housing can get us out of it. We think the stimulus ought to fix housing first. And we hope that the president meetings today will follow up on his comments yesterday to try to get some of the money out of this bill that doesn't have anything to do with creating new jobs.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and there's also a lot of discussion, Senator, about the fact that there isn't enough stimuli in this legislation, that there's too many other things. And one of the examples is we all have a tax cut by our fuel bills going down, our gasoline costs going down. And what that demonstrates, people are saving that money. They're not spending it necessarily. So if you give a tax cut, will people actually go out and spend it or save it?
Well, that's a very good argument. I mean, I voted for a tax rebate last year. At the beginning of this, it didn't seem to do much good. That's why we favor fixing housing. I mean, if you think about it just a moment, if there were Treasury-backed home mortgages that were 4.5%, 30-year mortgages available to every credit-worthy American, that would be instant jobs. Home builders, plumbers, constructions, that would create liquidity in the market, and it would restart the housing industry, which is the reason we got into this mess in the first place. This legislation doesn't really have anything to do with housing.
Yeah, the foreclosures are 4 times what they were in normal downturns. But, you know, Senator, isn't it price fixing to say you're going to do 4% rates on mortgages? Why not just let the Fed facility, you know, to buy Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, debt securitizations or long-term treasuries work out to bring the rates down?
We want to limit the cost to the taxpayers. The way we envision this would create no more than $300 billion. We put a $300 billion cap on this, turn it over to the Treasury to administer. But for the next 2 years, we would say we would start out with 4%, and to your point, it would be indexed to the yield. So as prices went up, the mortgage would go up. The mortgage you got wouldn't go up. If you got a 30-year mortgage today, it'd stay at 4%. But if 6 months from now, it might be 4.2 or 4.3 if the yields had gone up.
Let's talk about something that's in the Senate plan that is not in the House plan, and that is there is more tax credits for businesses. Why was that not in the House plan? And do you feel that you've got any traction in the Senate to push this through? Because basically, it's more tax breaks for businesses. Whether they spend that or not is a whole other debate, but it is more business-friendly, the Senate plan.
It's a little more business-friendly. There are provisions that would permit you to depreciate more rapidly and to expense your costs. Those things help create jobs. That was a part of the stimulus package we had a year ago as well. But those are relatively small parts of the Senate package. What is very important to realize is that we've probably committed, we being the government, taxpayers, Fed, FDIC, maybe $7 trillion in a variety of credits, so-called bailouts over the last few months. But the cost to the taxpayer is probably a few $100 billion of all of that. This proposal is $1 trillion in borrowed spending. It's as if the governors were saying, throw me a life jacket, and we sent them a boat. And then we go down to the bank and run up their debt to buy the boat. It's tremendously oversized in terms of what it needs to do, and it doesn't focus on creating jobs.
All right. So, Senator, real quick, we're going to have to let you go. I realize this, but let me just say this. There is a lot of talk. We heard Mitch McConnell talking this morning about targeting lowering tax rates for those in the lower income, those that make up to $65,000. If that were in this stimulus plan, maybe some other pork spending was cut out, would you change your mind and maybe vote for the plan?
Well, it would certainly help. What Senator McConnell is saying is put the housing provisions in first, the 4% mortgage and the $15,000 tax credit. And second, lower the tax rates from on the lower levels, which are 15% and 10%, lower them by 5%. They'd be short-term tax breaks. Those aren't as stimulative as permanent tax cuts, which we prefer, but they at least they at least go directly to the taxpayers and let them keep more of their own money.
All right, Senator Lamar Alexander. Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it this afternoon. Thank you, sir.